What's up, everybody? We're back. We're streaming again, and this time we're gonna be taking a lot of your questions. Last time we streamed, we saw that a lot of you had a lot of questions for us in the comment section, and we had planned topics, so we weren't able to answer them. This time we have a couple topics we want to get through regarding Sam Darnold and him going to the Panthers and who the Panthers should take, and then we're going to get into all the questions. And I know all of them are going to be Niners and quarterback related, so I can't wait to get into them. If you have a question, just drop it in, and we'll try to get it going right away. So, Blake, what's up?
Yeah, Vish, doing good. Another week. It's already Thursday. It's kind of slow for the NFL besides what we're going to talk about, but another week closer to the draft. That's how I view it.
For sure. And we got to talk about Sam Darnold. The Jets finally moved him.
Yes.
I mean, I know he's been a little bit of a controversial topic with the Niners fans too, because there was a time people thought the Niners were going to make a move for him. We both felt they shouldn't. Now he finally is in a better situation. Let's talk about the Sam Darnold trade to the Carolina Panthers. How good will Sam Darnold be with the Panthers? What do you think of the reaction? Give me your thoughts.
Okay, so yeah, I can break down. I have the details pulled up. So basically, the Panthers traded a 2021 sixth, 2022 second rounder, and fourth rounder. So they traded 3 picks. They got Darnold back. They already took his 5th-year option, which is, I believe, around $20 million. It's fully guaranteed, though.
Yep.
It looks like Teddy Two Gloves is no longer. That experiment did not last very long. I like this a lot for the Jets and the Panthers, to be honest with you. I think the Jets, like, the fact that they got a 2nd, 4th, and 6th, which I might be someone who overvalues picks, but I think that's a really good haul for teams knowing that they wanted to trade him. Like, usually when a team is, like, strapped and, you know, the player wants out and the team wants out of the player, like, they lose leverage in that sense. So I was kind of surprised at, like, that overall trade package. What did you think about that?
Yeah, I think they got a lot for him.
I
thought Sam Darnold's trade package would be like a late 3rd, and like a 6th, or a 4th, a 4th and a 5th, or something like that. Like I didn't think there was a big market for Sam Darnold. I mean, Ian Rappaport tweeted that Washington and the Niners did their due diligence, but Carolina was like the sole suitor for Sam Darnold. I was surprised. I think the Jets got a haul, but from Carolina's perspective, Blake, talk to me. I mean, I know a lot of people in the media are high on Sam Darnold. I'd argue that a lot of it is due to the fact they had a very high pre-draft perception on the man, and they don't want to be wrong with it. Exactly. Talk to me. Like, Adam Gase was, I mean, according to everybody, Adam Gase was the sole problem. Is Sam Darnold now going to reach his full potential, which to some means he's going to be a top 5 quarterback in the NFL now that he goes to a fantastic situation in Carolina with Matt Rule, Joe Brady, and those 2 special receivers?
Yeah, so I think we can talk about, like, just him moving from the Jets and, like, his tenure. So he was there for 3 years. His best season, they went 7-9 with him, and he missed a few games with injury. He had mono for, like, 5 games, which was just, like, you know, pretty random.
3.
It was 3 games. With
mono. Yeah.
Okay. And then, the pairing just never worked. I'll say this. I don't think Adam Gase was helped by what the Jets gave him, and I don't think Sam Darnold was helped by Adam Gase or what was around him by any stretch of the imagination. They don't really have a great O-line. Don't really have weapons. Running back's not good. Defense isn't the best. So I think all that stuff is definitely not good for any quarterback. And going from Frank Gore and LaMichael Pirine to Christian McCaffrey is about the biggest upgrade you can possibly get in the running back position. He's reunited with Robbie Anderson, and there's already a little connection there. DJ Moore, solid. Taylor Moton, he's a beast at right tackle. Their O-line is otherwise not it's probably not worse than the Jets. I'd say it's better. So obviously the situation is significantly better. And I think here's the thing too, is like getting out of the New York media is probably just like nice for him in general. Being on the Panthers, like, besides when they had Cam, like, you don't hear about them too much in the media just because it's not as big of a city. So I think they'll be solid. And I think he's probably better than Teddy. I really do. I'm not I know you aren't either the biggest Teddy fan. And he has shown potential, right? It's just he does make a lot of mistakes still.
Yeah, he's got potential. I don't know. Like, I think he's going to be better for sure. Like, I like how you touched on the fact that, like, Gase is obviously a terrible coach. I think everybody with two eyes knows that. But McKagnon was just the worst GM ever. I mean, the picks he made, like Jachai Polite in the 3rd round, the signing of Trumaine Johnson, CJ Mosley signing, like those just have not worked for the Jets. And so, like, that's where when I look at Gase, like, yeah, you're a terrible coach, but geez, the personnel they gave you to work with was terrible, right? And that's where with Sam Darnold, like, I think he's going to be a lot better. I don't think he's a Ryan Tannehill story. I think Tannehill was a better quarterback with Adam Gase before he tore his ACL than Sam Darnold has ever shown in the NFL.
Yeah,
and now Darnold's still 23. I think he can be a good player. I think he's in a really, really great situation in Carolina. We're going to talk about how their offensive line is pretty good. It's not bad. They can shore it up with a pick, and we'll talk about it in just a couple minutes. But their receivers are damn good. I love DJ Moore. I think DJ Moore is awesome. I think Robbie Anderson is really, really good. And I think they can draft one more guy to replace Curtis Samuel, who's also a stud in my opinion. So they're going to have a real nice supporting cast around him. Joe Brady is a solid play caller. I think ultimately, I don't know if we're talking potential. I don't know if Sam Darnold just becomes this top 10 quarterback, but I think he maybe becomes a viable starting quarterback, which he's not looked like in his time with the Jets. He's not looked like a very good player. Like, that's the reality of the situation with Sam Darnold. Like, is he talented? Is he young? Was he dealt the worst possible hand? Absolutely, to all 3 questions. But it's like Carson Wentz from last year. Coaching wasn't great. Receivers weren't great. Offensive line wasn't great. But the quarterback play was also bad. That's just how it is. So from that standpoint, I think that Darnold has ways to go. And if he improves into a top 10 quarterback, his improvement will be unprecedented. But if he becomes a viable starter and a consistent starter, I think that's good enough. And I think Carolina's slowly putting together a really, really good team around him that they can make the playoffs with Sam Darnold even next year.
Yeah, and I did want to touch on that too. Like, when you watch him, like, he's obviously really, really big. Like, this dude will go at, like, linebackers and safeties, and he'll go, like, head first and, like, try to truck them and stuff. Like, he's a big dude, obviously, physically. He has a pretty strong arm. Like, he can make throws that, like, you'll watch and you'll be like, okay, like, I can see why people, like, I can see why he went 3rd and why the Jets traded up for him and why people still hold faith. Like, he will make some insane throws. I know on Twitter circulating was that one throw against the Niners where it was, like, across his body, like 20.
It's a big-time throw.
20 yards downfield. Yeah, but for every one of those, you'll hear him saying on the sidelines, like, I'm seeing ghosts, and throw it into double coverage or, you know, make a bad play basically. So it's just the consistency has not been there at all, really. Like, that's the trouble for me. Is he hasn't really been better.
I would say that he hasn't been a consistent quarterback since his time at USC. I remember him coming out in the draft. I mean, we talked about him, I think, quite a bit. We talked about him, Rosen, because those quarterbacks were a great conversation. But people were talking about him like he was the next Andrew Luck. I mean, that comparison to me was just reckless as Sam Darnold's play at USC his senior year. He was always a little out of control, a little reckless, didn't function really well within the pocket, was really just looking to run out of the pocket and make plays. He's really talented, but I think that those things need to be kept into account. There's a lot of polish that needs to go into his game, and that polish hasn't happened since his sophomore year in USC, and hopefully he'll start to get better, and maybe he'll be a really viable starter in the NFL because he's definitely that talented, and time is definitely on his side.
Definitely. And then I did want to throw in one more thing. If you guys watched that Broncos game, like, that was supposed to be just a terrible game. Like, the Broncos and Jets were not that good. The man looked like Lamar Jackson. I think it was the opening drive. It was 3rd and long.
The one run, the 45-yarder or 50-yarder, yeah.
It was ridiculous. And there's other throws where, like, you see his arm talent just pop off, and you're like, wow, like, not many people can actually do that. And it's to the likes of, like, Brashad Perryman, Braxton Berrios, Jamison Crowder, who is actually good, but he's throwing to some no-name guys out there and, like, making them look good, and you always see him running in the pocket. So, you know, it'll be interesting. Like, how much better the situation is and like he can improve.
Right, and you brought up those flashes, right? And that's what it's always been with him. It's the flashes, and people get super sucked into the flashes with him, but the consistency just hasn't been there, right? And I think that's going to be the interesting thing. Can he finally get that consistency? Because the bottom line is Joe Flacco played more consistent than Sam Darnold in the little time he played last year. Now, the Adam Gase offense is suited more for Flacco, but the bottom line is Flacco played like a more consistent and confident quarterback, which Sam Darnold didn't play like.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Let's transition then. And now the Carolina Panthers don't have to take a quarterback at pick 8. What should they do?
All right. So before this trade, they were looking like one of the teams that could potentially trade up. I think after the Niners trade, though, they kind of like all that buzz kind of fell away. Like, would the Falcons actually trade with them? Because they're kind of the next team. And would the Panthers be okay taking the 4th quarterback on the board, most likely? I mean, yeah, that's like foregone conclusion at this point. So I thought they would maybe take like a Trey Lance guy, have him sit behind 2 gloves and roll a season like that. But now it is looking like they're just going to go, obviously Darnold starting. They have said Teddy Bridgewater's like open to being traded. So like that's not an issue anymore. It looks like Teddy's gone. I look at the holes. Definitely defense is always an option. You know, they drafted defense every pick last year, which is crazy just due to the mass turnover. But I think their most important position right now is left tackle. They have Taylor Moton on the right side. If they solidified the left with either, I like Sewell the most. I don't know if he'll be there, but I like him the most. And then Rashawn Slater is a pretty decent consolation prize. So I'm going them two as who the Panthers should draft. Rashawn Slater, Penei Sewell.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you on this. Like, to me, this is just a no-brainer. Just go get a tackle because their offense is pretty much set besides left tackle, and I would say receiver 3. But I think that the value for receivers is that you can get a guy to replace Curtis Samuel and Rondale Moore or Kadarius Toney, possibly with a high second-round pick. You're not going to get one of these special tackles in the second round. And they had Russell Okung last year, and that's not really what you want. You had Taylor Moton at right tackle, who's just a beast. You just need to get a beast next to him. And obviously, Sewell would be perfect, right? But Sewell, I mean, will he be there? That's a big question mark. If he's not there, I think Rashawn Slater is the way to go. Either way, I think they have to address left tackle because I think they have a lot of young talent on their defense. I think their defense is going to grow together and get better. I think they have a pretty underratedly loaded offense, especially if Christian McCaffrey is healthy next year. Like, I think this is one of the rosters in the NFL that people don't realize is really, really close, actually. They're just the development of a couple of players away from really being a big-time playoff team or a playoff team. And hopefully Sam Darnold can play like a playoff quarterback, which is just consistently solid football, which is all they really need. So from that standpoint, I would just say go tackle and hope. And I think both one of Slater or Sewell will be there for sure, just because of the way the quarterbacks will go. And Kyle Pitts, I mean, the only way I wouldn't go tackle is if somehow Kyle Pitts is there. Kyle Pitts is there at 8, then you just take Kyle Pitts.
That would be oh man.
Right. But then what I would say for Detroit and what I would say for Miami is, you have other needs. But if Kyle Pitts is there at 6 or Kyle Pitts is there at 7, you take Kyle Pitts because he's that good. So, and Jamal brought up Brian Burns. Brian Burns is an absolute star. One of the most underrated players on their defense. And they drafted Yetur Gross from Penn State last year, who has potential as a pass rusher.
Brown,
right. Really and then they signed Hassan Reddick. Shaq Thompson's always been a really solid player. So they're deep, right. Jeremy Chin, their defense is coming. It's ready to go. It's really young. It's talented. And so from that standpoint, to me, it's just tackle. It's really offensive tackle or Kyle Pitts.
Yeah, I'm with you. So like the tackle, obviously there. Now we talk about
Matos, my bad.
So we talked about their weapons, right? We know they have McCaffrey, and when healthy, I think he's still the best running back in the league. You can say Dalvin Cook or Derrick Henry all you want. Like, I totally get it, but a healthy McCaffrey is different. He only played 3 games this year. In each game this year, I'm pretty sure he had at least 100 yards, like all-purpose yards, and at least a touchdown or 2 in each of them. Like, when he plays, he is a beast. And then on the outside, DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson. The third receiver is kind of missing, but like you said, you can get that in the second or third round. It's not something you spend a top 10 pick on. Now, tight end Ian Thomas is there. So here's where if they were thinking, okay, maybe we'll sign a guy in free agency or we're going to roll out with our line again, they went Kyle Pitts. That would just create even more mismatch nightmares. That's for like really above average players at skill positions and would just make them so good.
To me, the thing with Kyle Pitts is it's just value. If Kyle Pitts is there, you just have to take Kyle Pitts because he's that good. Like, I think Penei Sewell is really, really good. I think Rashawn Slater is really, really good. Kyle Pitts to me is like the one, like, sure, like, he feels like a Hall of Fame talent. Like, I feel like that's a mouthful because that's a really lofty praise. But the guy is spectacular. So to me, if he's there at 8, you just take him. But if he's not there at 8, then the value and the need lines up perfectly. They need a left tackle, and Penei Sewell and Rashawn Slater, 8 feels like actually a great spot for both of them to go. So from that standpoint, I think it'll be perfect. And I think the Panthers are going to be really good next year. I really do. As long as Sam Darnold can play somewhat mistake-free football, just play like with a little bit, like he, instead of playing like a bottom 5 quarterback in the NFL, he can play like a middle tier, like a Jared Goff type, right? Like just a top 20, top 16, top 17 quarterback. Like, and he's got enough talent to make a couple more bigger plays than those kind of guys, like the Goffs of the world. Then the ceiling's kind of the limit for the Carolina Panthers. I don't think they'll be a Super Bowl team, but I think they'll be a playoff team.
And they're still really young, and they could go defense. Like, if there was maybe a cornerback, they could look into going there, or if they really love Micah Parsons, they could always trade down too. They're in a really prime position where they could say, okay, Washington, okay, New England, we know you guys want quarterbacks because what you have right now is probably not adequate. They could trade down with those teams, and they're kind of in a good spot where that team could probably get the 4th or 5th quarterback and leapfrog some of the other teams in like the 10s position. Like, if they wanted to leapfrog the Broncos, which they're at 9, I believe, and they could take a quarterback. We don't know about if they really, really like Drew Lock like that. So if a team wanted to jump them, they're in a prime position to trade down, maybe pick up a 2nd or a 3rd. So yeah, they are really, this Darnold trade helped them a lot with what they can do in the draft.
So 2 things before we kick it to questions. One thing I'll say in regards to the corner, I just don't think there's a corner that you take before Rashawn Slater and Penei Sewell. That's just the way I feel about it. So I just think that in terms of value, it lines up. And 2, if a quarterback is there, if I'm Carolina, I'm just saying if that quarterback's like a Trey Lance or Justin Fields, let's say it's one of them, or maybe because it seems that Mac Jones is going to go earlier, or maybe it is Mac Jones or whoever it is.
Yeah, whatever.
I'd be maybe interested. If I was the Carolina Panthers, they won't do this, but I might be interested in maybe drafting one of them because Sam Darnold is still a wild card. It's a lot to put all your eggs in that basket and pay him $20 million guaranteed because you're betting on an improvement from him that's just going to come from him removing from himself from that terrible situation. But what if he's really just that player?
Yep.
What if that situation just scarred him and he's really just that player? So you don't know. And from that standpoint, I think it's a little risky what they're doing. Obviously, taking a quarterback isn't prudent, but in terms of the way they've allocated their financial and draft cap, financial resources and draft capital, but I'd consider it if I was them.
Yeah, it could go downhill for them. I mean, instead of having consistent quarterback and drafting a guy, they're putting a lot of faith in Darnold. I mean, they already picked up his 5th-year option, so $20 million is going to him next year. So if he's not good, they could be giving up a high 2nd rounder next year and just kind of delaying what they've started, which looks like a really, really strong rebuild.
Yep. So that's all we had planned for you guys. Wanted to talk Sam Darnold, wanted to talk Panthers. Now, I've seen already a couple good questions, so I'm going to get to them right now. Just keep the questions coming. If we see it, we like it, we'll get to it. And if there's a good question that we missed, just repost it. Don't spam it, but repost it. Or just let us know, and we'll definitely maybe do a future video on it. So let's start off with Alex. He's asking, appreciate the kind words, Alex. The Niners aren't leaking anything about the pick. Why are reporters assuming it will be Jones? So if you don't mind, Blake, I'm going to take this first. I think that the reason reporters are assuming it's going to be Jones is obviously you're right. The Niners aren't leaking anything, which I think is an important detail to know from this. The Niners aren't telling anybody that it's Justin Fields. They're not telling anybody it's Trey Lance. They're not telling anybody it's Mac Jones. So this Mac Jones thing is not a smokescreen, okay? I've seen too many people call it a smokescreen. This is not what a smokescreen is because the Niners aren't actively pushing any of these narratives. The reason reporters are assuming it will be Jones is because people that seem to know Kyle Shanahan, seem to know the way he thinks, seem to know the way he views quarterbacks, their best guess based on looking at these quarterbacks seems to be that Mac Jones is the guy that fits what he's looking for. Now, they could be totally wrong, but I think that's where that narrative is stemming from. And to be fair, I think most people who haven't interacted with Kyle Shanahan, there's not a precedent of him drafting quarterbacks. Like RG3 wasn't his quarterback. Okay, he loved Kirk Cousins. That's a 4th-round pick. Okay, he loved CJ Beathard. That's a 3rd-round pick. That's not taking a quarterback in the top 10. So there's a totally different animal, and we have really no clue. We know that Kyle Shanahan, what he looks for is toughness, smarts, and a pure natural thrower of the football. A guy who knows where to go with the football, is decisive, is tough in the pocket, and can execute his offense. We know that he likes those things, but we don't know to what extent he wants, what athletic profile he looks for. We don't know any of these things. And so that's where I see when people like Chris Sims and people like that who are close to him, when they say Mac Jones, I think that's why people are taking that word and saying, okay, it's probably Mac Jones, just because we don't know who Kyle wants, but from what we know of Kyle and what we know from talking to Kyle, we think Mac Jones is the player that best fits what he wants.
Yeah, it is interesting, but I'm going to take a different approach here. I feel like overall, some of the moves the Niners have made have not really been like, you get a ton of leaked details on what exactly they're doing. Like, wasn't the Trent Williams trade like pretty under the radar? As far that's what I'm remembering.
Yeah, the Niners said Joe Staley wasn't going to retire prior to a week before the draft, and then bang, he retired, and they got Trent Williams.
Yeah, so like from that sense, like I guess it's tough to say. Like there's some organizations where things do get leaked and you kind of know the pick or what's happening ahead of time. I feel like with the Niners, all we hear is like, "Yep, they did their due diligence." Like I feel like that's always what we say about quarterbacks. Like, oh, they made a call on Darnold to see what he's worth. They made a call on Minshew to see what he's worth. I do think there is an aspect where we haven't heard anything from the Niners org, and like, I just cannot believe like if Fields does not get drafted, how far he would fall or had fallen originally. And that to me is where it's like, okay, like this is actually crazy to the sense if he doesn't get taken. That's how I'd personally view it. And I think he will get taken. And maybe that's why not much is leaked on him.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, we'll have to wait and see. Yeah. I think you're right. Like the Niners aren't actively leaking this. I think Blake's also right. Like, from a logical standpoint, it just feels so right to be Justin Fields, doesn't it? Like Mac Jones, I like Mac Jones more than the average person, but to me, this pick just it should have Justin Fields' name written all over this. Maybe I'm too high on Justin Fields, and maybe there's things with Mac Jones that are just better with Justin Fields. We'll see. But I think the one thing I will say to all Niners fans is that if you're a fan of Kyle Shanahan, I'm a fan of Kyle Shanahan, then just whoever he picks, let him pick him. Because at the end of the day, whoever he wants to be his quarterback, he probably has a good reason and good science behind why he wants that quarterback. And so I'd say let it play out. Like, I feel like a lot of narratives with the media and stuff are getting pushed with Mac Jones that are a little unfair.
Yeah.
And he's been kind of a guy that's just been like Justin Fields was the guy that was getting killed. And then the moment the Niners traded up for 3 and people thought it could be Mac Jones, now it's open season on Mac Jones beyond just the DUI, which obviously is a concern and all of that. But so I'll just say be patient. And I think there's a lot to like with Mac Jones. You just prefer it to be Justin Fields.
Yeah. So I guess my bottom line for that is I do think there's some smoke of this Mac Jones stuff. I would be very surprised if it was him. just because of how talented Fields is, and maybe like over analyzation from the scouting community on him, because he was a surefire number 2. Like, I don't know what I'm missing with him. If you could tell me, Vish, like why he's not lock at 3, I guess it's just the media speculation and people.
No, there is questions with Justin Fields. Like he's not the most.
Yeah, that's true.
He's a really accurate intermediate and down the field thrower. Maybe the best in the class. He's definitely the best down the field thrower in the class. He's not a very good screen game thrower. Like in terms of 0 to 5 yards, just quick screens, quick outs, quick slants, stuff like that. Really, really short throws. Probably not the most important thing, to be honest. Like, because if you have a outstanding deep thrower, then okay, the short stuff I guess you can live with a little bit. But that's one thing I would say maybe that's a flaw with him. And 2, like in terms of reading post-snap rotations of safeties, and sometimes he can sometimes miss, but like I feel like it gets over-analyzed with him. Like you see enough of really good quarterbacking, really good processing, really good accuracy, great toughness, great arm talent, great athleticism, where I agree with you. It feels like he should be the pick at 3.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that, but the draft can't come soon enough, Vish. That's all I know, especially for you as a Niners fan and all the speculation.
100%. And then when the Packers do not address their interior defensive line and do not address their linebacking core, you can also feel quite upset when they take their
We're gonna find and analyze the best position of the Packers, and that's where we're gonna go. That's whether that's quarterback, maybe running back in the first.
Won't you love it when after paying Aaron Jones, they take Najee Harris?
Yeah, that would just be something, man. That I think that's where the Packers are going for sure, just to annoy the fan base as per usual.
Okay, so real quick, I haven't been scrolling down, but I also saw this question that I think is a great question. Now, I don't know how much you've watched Dyami Brown, and he's a receiver for UNC. Yeah. I know you're not that far in the receivers. You're still on the quarterbacks, and you're also talking a little Packers draft stuff, which means you're getting into some of the less sexier positions in this draft, like defensive tackle, inside linebacker, stuff like that. But so Dyami Brown is part of that pretty stellar UNC offense with Michael Carter, Javonte Williams, absolute stud, deep threat. Yeah. He's about 6 feet, 200 pounds, gets down the field. I would love Dyami Brown in round 2. I think Dyami Brown is so dynamic. I think he's a really, really good player. I don't think he's a first-round guy, but I think he's a surefire round 2 guy. What I will say is that I just think the Niners just have to address their secondary with all those one-year contract guys. They've invested so much in the receiver position over the last few years, whether it's a pick on Hurd that was pretty high, pick on Debo that was high, 3 picks to trade up for Ayuk, 2 picks to trade up for Dante Pettis. Like that's a lot of assets and resources. Right, that's a lot of assets and resources already invested in the receiver position. I think Dyami Brown is amazing. I don't think that's where the Niners need to go. They can get a number 3 receiver in the 4th round or 5th round, just a guy who's going to come play in the slot, because they're going to be a 21, 22 personnel offense anyway, or 12 personnel. So from that standpoint, I don't think the investment is worth it. But Dyami Brown, absolute baller. He's going to be a stud.
Yeah, so the more I think about 2nd round picks for the Niners, I'm just not liking the receiver position. Now, they could definitely get good value. That's not my issue, because there's a lot of really, really good receivers that would fit really well with the Niners. I don't think either of us, doubt that. It's more of just the fact that you have said they have invested a lot, and that's true, but who they draft in the 2nd round is going to be the 4th option in the offense, like from a pass catching perspective. The value is not there when you have, like you mentioned, tons of need in the secondary, a bunch of one-year contracts. And I know Jason Verrett was healthy last year, but that was still such an anomaly. I mean, this dude could very, very easily get injured and be out a significant amount of time.
And then no, that's a great point. Let me emphasize that too, because it's not just Verrett, right? Like we love Jaquiski Tartt, friend of the show, absolute baller.
He's been on
Williams, absolute baller. But the point is, the reason Jason Verrett, Jaquiski Tartt, and K'Wan Williams are all back in this particular climate of free agency is because of what, Blake?
Injuries.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm with you. So that's just the that's just the main issue. Injuries, and then they're all on 1-year contracts. So secondary, I mean, they could honestly double dip there. Like they really could. You could even go O-line, like interior O-line. Now I know you said it's not a huge need, but if they did go somewhere in the second or third round with that position or with that area, like that is an option too. And there's definitely guys that are versatile that can do both. So it is interesting. They have options.
I would actually prefer that they double dipped. If you remember I think it was the year after Green Bay the year they fired, I want to say they fired Dom Capers. It was McCarthy's last year first year with Mike Pettin. Right. It was the year after Atlanta embarrassed them when Lindsey Pipkins was guarding Julio Jones. No,
it was Ladarius Gunter.
Ladarius Gunter. Lindsey Pipkins was on that team. It was Ladarius Gunter. Oh, wait. They double dipped in 2018, didn't they? They went Jair Alexander and Josh Jackson.
Yeah. So in 2017, they went or was that 2016? I forget. One of the years they went Demarius Randall.
Randall was 16.
And they went Quentin Rollins.
Kevin King was 2017 in the first round. And then they came back the next year and went Jair Alexander, Josh Jackson.
Yeah, no, they invested a ton, and like obviously some of those guys were really not that good. Like Quentin Rollins never performed well. Josh Jackson's still an unknown. Demarius Randall, he was out of position, but Jair Alexander hit. They took HaHa Clinton-Dix in the first round. Like they have definitely hit on some dudes.
Darnell Savage.
Darnell Savage.
Money to Adrian Amos.
Yep.
But the point I'm trying to make is I wish the Niners would double dip similarly, because I think they need to double dip corner safety. And it's not like that guy needs to be a starter, but I think in their second, like to just sum up this entire conversation, would Dyami Brown, or as you called him, Dynami Brown, be dynamic in this offense? Absolutely. But they got to go, and it's get high potential guys within their secondary that can come and play special teams and possibly be nickel and dime players. And then the next year when possibly Jason Verrett walks or Jaquaski Tart walks or K'Wan Williams walks, because these guys are going to, if they stay healthy, they're going to command big salaries in the open market because they're that good players. You plug these guys in and now you have young talent and you had depth in your secondary this year.
Mm-hmm. No, you're totally
right. So I'm
right.
scrolling back down now. Do you see?
Yes.
If you pull up a question.
Sorry.
My favorite player in the draft, too. I love Kadarius Toney. So this kind of piggybacks off of just what we were talking about. I think we both agree they should go cornerback.
Yeah. Cornerback, you could say safety, too. Just somewhere in the secondary, basically, is the bottom line. Rondale Moore would be awesome in this offense. I do feel like he does get a little redundant with some of the things that Debo can do, and more that he's like a gadget gimmick guy, and he does the jet sweeps. He takes those little handoffs or touch passes, rather. Does stuff in the short. But, yeah, man, Rondale Moore, like, he would be awesome on the Niners, but he could be a little redundant with what Debo does. And athletic profile of being 5'7". I wish he wasn't, because that is what everyone says, but, like, it is true. It's tough.
He's gotten hurt, too.
Yeah, he's had bad injury history. He really has.
Yeah, if you're going that type of player, I'm Toney all the way over Rondale Moore. That's just the way I feel.
Toney has injury history as well, though. I will say that is something that we haven't really mentioned that, but he does too. Rondale Moore does too. It could just be their frames, bad luck. Yeah, tough to say someone's injury prone, but it is what it is.
Right. Because it's not a science, right? You can't call somebody injury prone because scientifically they're not more prone to getting hurt than you or me, Blake. It's just they've had bad luck with injuries. And when you have bad luck with injuries, you just don't know if their body is at the same strength that it was before those injuries.
There is one exception, and that is Jordan Reed, and I will stand by that because he always gets injured. Like it is like go on.
You sound like that someone that's salty because he was on your fantasy team a couple years.
No, I've just had faith that he will like stay healthy a whole year. I mean, he's had some awesome games. You remember his Thanksgiving Day game against the Cowboys a few years ago? He had like 100 yards and 2 touchdowns and just insane. And that was like
Kirk
it was
Cousins
his shoulder
for 450 yards.
It was his shoulder or foot was like messed up too, and he was like hobbling around, walking injured, and he was just coming out there on tons of painkillers and just absolutely killing the Cowboys.
You know why I remember that game? That's Dak Prescott's rookie year, right? I think it's Cousins' last year in
2016.
So it's his second to last year in Washington with the football team. And if you remember, that was the Des Bryant, Josh Norman Thanksgiving game where they had beef.
Okay.
When Josh Norman said something that obviously we're a PG show, so we can't repeat it. But he made a reference to a firearm and something with Des Bryant. And then Des Bryant said that he was going to post film clips about how he did them, as he said it, how he did them. And then he never posted the film clips.
Yeah, Des is an all-timer. He's definitely got a good personality. That can be that's for sure.
It's actually sad how fast Des came down because like Des was the man. Like I don't think people like awesome. Dez's trajectory from great to not so great was so fast, kind of like Carmelo Anthony in basketball, that people kind of just forgot how good Dez was. But like 2014, 2015, 2016, Dez was unstoppable. 2013, Jesus.
I think it was 2014. I believe he had like 15 touchdowns or something.
Led the league.
He dropped a big pass in the divisional round of the playoffs, though. So.
I heard he caught it.
Nah, he just doesn't have the killer instinct. But yeah, no, he was awesome. Definitely a good personality. He had more touchdowns than Michael Thomas last year, though. So I will say that. This was an interesting question, actually. We don't talk Packers too much, though, right? I try to do it just to get away from the whole Niners thing.
Just because you're a big Niners fan?
So the question is, if the Packers have a rough season in 2021, rough schedule, the first seed, although the NFC North doesn't look strong at all this year, it looks pretty weak. And they go, say, 9-8, don't do good. Is A-Rod out? What do you think, Vish?
Yeah, I think he is. And I think it'll be the biggest mistake in the history of the franchise. Because I still think he's got like 5 good years left. Like he was special last year. Yeah. But I think the way it's set up is that basically they're gonna blame Aaron Rodgers if it goes wrong. Right. That's how it feels. Now, Aaron Rodgers' contract isn't exactly an easy contract to move off of, I think, even next year.
No, so the 2022 offseason, they do have somewhat of an out where the dead money's not completely terrible.
But isn't it still? It's not like something that you just do for nothing, right?
They definitely would have a lot of dead money, but like, they can save $20 million or something. It's not. I'll say this: it could have been worse if they would have extended him this offseason. Not extended. If they would have restructured his contract this offseason, they would have spread some of his some of his salary this year and spread it across the life of the contract and making it guaranteed. And so if they would have done that, that would have left them more liable for guaranteed cap hits in the future. And by not doing that, it's a little subtle hint saying we're not committing to him in the future entirely. Right. So that's where it's like kind of interesting. And like, why are they not doing that?
Hint, hint, nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Why do you think?
Exactly.
Yeah, and so the dead cap is $17 million. So it's not like it's pennies. The dead cap is a decent amount, but they do save a reasonable sum of money.
They do.
Aaron Rodgers paid a lot. But what I will say is that I think it just makes too much sense, only because whatever you think of Jordan Love, you drafted him for the financial flexibility. And I think part of the Packers' problem, and I don't want to say it's really their problem because Aaron Rodgers has been so good with his time at the Packers, but you've talked about it. We've talked about it ad nauseum. What's the number, Blake? What's the cap percentage? Beyond that, you can't win a Super Bowl. It's 15, right?
It's been 12.
It's 12. Matt Ryan was the closest at 15.
He was at 15.4 or 15 something, and they collapsed epically, and he should have broken all the laws, but he couldn't because of the rule.
Right. They want the NFL wanted to preserve that rule, but that's the point, right? And now you're 2 years into Jordan Love without him playing. You only have 3 more years of that financial flexibility that should give you that opportunity to win, right? It's the best kept secret in the NFL, or it's the worst kept secret that if you have a rookie quarterback, you're going to have a stacked team, and you can go win big if you have a good good quarterback on a rookie contract. So from that standpoint, I think it just, unfortunately, it makes too much sense. And I'm a little disappointed because, as much as I love the Niners moving up to 3 and all of that, like, man, there was a part of me that was really hoping that he would come finish his career in the Bay and he would win a Super Bowl with us and I could rub it in your face. But it seems like all of that is unlikely. But I think that, yeah, there's a real possibility that 2021, if the Green Bay Packers don't once again go like 13-4 or 14-3, like that's his last season in Green Bay. Yeah,
no, definitely. But here's the thing, though. I think they will remain patient with Love. I don't think their thing is like it's a do or die this year on whether we trade him. Like, I think they would sit him for 3 years. And after that, do it. Like, I think they would be comfortable. Now, I know we mentioned financial flexibility, but with Rodgers, he only he sat 3 whole years. So, like, they didn't really reap the benefits of the rookie contract. Now, this was before the rookie wage scale was changed. So, if you remember, like, rookies were getting paid some of the highest in their position. And this would screw the bottom tier teams. Like, the Lions, they had Stafford, Megatron, and Ndamukong Suh, who were all really good, but they were making like tons of guaranteed money.
Yeah.
Even if you're a really good rookie, it's just like not worth it because you're getting paid the same amount as like a Pro Bowler, a borderline Pro Bowler. So that's how it was then. But I think they will be patient. And yeah, like you could say they might go 9-8, but at the end of the day, I'm not betting against the Packers to go around 500 with.
Yeah. So with Aaron Rodgers, I just don't think there's any way. Like the Aaron Rodgers-LaFleur connection seems to be yin and yang, and for that, I just think there's no way they go 9-8. But I do think if they have another disappointing kind of playoff type thing and whatever, whether it's Rodgers that just pushes himself out or whether this ends ugly, just because. Jordan Love, the entire point, right, with Love is to get him on the rookie contract.
Yes.
You've already lost 2 years of it. And I know you're saying be patient with it, but that 5th-year option for Jordan Love, they got to make a decision after year 3. And if he doesn't play at all, you can't take it.
Or yeah, it is year 3, sorry.
But and since the 2018 draft class, or this draft class, it's all fully guaranteed money. And in Jordan Love's case, I think it'll be like 10 to 12 million fully guaranteed, which is still a decent amount of money for a guy who might not have played a snap by then. So
that's cheap still for a quarterback that, dude, if he sat for 3 years, he would.
But he hasn't played.
I mean, he hasn't played, but dude, I mean, he's been sitting behind the GOAT, my GOAT right there. He's been sitting behind Rodgers. He'd be getting coached up. He'd be looking really good. I think if he sat for 2 or 3 years, I already think he's going to be really good. Like, we always mention like sit a quarterback, let him develop. The Packers are doing that to a guy who has the arm talent and has the potential to be really good. He might not have the best footwork. He might not know how to read a complex defense or wasn't exposed to those type of things in college, but guess what he's been doing all this time while he's been having that red shirt on? He's been doing exactly that. So yeah, man, it'll be interesting.
The talent is real. The talent is really real. I am a lot more skeptical than you about his future, but we'll see.
He'll be good.
Tony asks, I haven't watched Benjamin St. Just at all.
I'm with you. I'm sorry that you spent $5 on that, Tony. That if you ask another question, we will try to get it answered for you, man. But we have not. I personally have not watched him. But if he's a quarterback and he's available,
he's the Minnesota corner. My bad, not the Iowa State. I mixed it up. He's the Minnesota corner. My bad. If you're asking about round 2 and round 3 prospects at the moment, Blake and I are not in a great position. I've spent this entire offseason charting these quarterbacks, and Blake's been focusing on the quarterbacks plus the Packers picks, which is interior. He's hoping, fingers crossed, interior defensive line to line.
New vid on the Packers. We did a live stream. We did a live mock draft. We might have to do that for the Niners, Vish. And then we reevaluated the draft needs. So do check those out if you like the Niners or if you like the Packers. I already know you guys all like the Niners.
And in regards to these type day 2 players, what I will say is there's a chance that Blake and I never get to them just because of the way our schedules work out. So in the future, Tony, please don't spend $5 of your money asking about a day 2 or a day 3 guy just because I don't want you to lose that just because we have not done the requisite work on it. And in regards to the entire first round, the week of the draft, probably a couple days before the draft, we will do a live stream before the first round. So the first round's April 29th. Watch out, April 27th, April 26th, one of those days, we will do a live stream where we mock what we would do at every single pick for the first round. It's the only mock we will do, but watch out for then. And we're hoping we can get through everybody that's like projected to go in the first round. So that's like 45 guys by then. So we can actually have an informed opinion when we do that.
I did want to put.
I'm in the same boat with. My bad. I just wanted to say I'm in the same boat with Newsome. I've watched him maybe a little more just because I've been doing an more in-depth look at Justin Fields versus Northwestern, but I don't think he played in that game actually, so I haven't watched him properly at all. My bad. I haven't watched him. I have seen a few clips like guys like Croc post. Definitely ask them. They know what they're talking about with it for sure. Croc, KP.
Love the name. Love the username here for Cone quality.
Of course, the username is great, but yeah, that's just where I'm at with Newsome. And the Justin Fields, we'll be streaming that soon, where we'll be doing a nice film breakdown where we chart the entire game right in front of you guys of Justin Fields versus Northwestern, going through the concept, coverage, decision, the throw, everything. We'll go through it. Okay, he played a little. He got injured during the game. I appreciate it. I'm going to go back and look. I'll be watching more of that game tonight so I can get ready for that live stream. So I'll definitely check. All right, my bad, Blake. You pulled up a question. Pull it up again. What's up?
Yeah, we have a couple here. This was the first one I wanted to bring up. So,
I saw this. I love this.
I'm hearing that Kyle Pitts is a generational future Hall of Fame talent. Is this just the same old pre-draft getting carried away hype, or is there substance to this? And best landing spot. That's the most interesting part, but we can start with it first. So, Vish, generational future Hall of Fame talent. Thoughts on that statement, and do you think there is potential there?
Yeah, I don't think this is the pre-draft hype machine and all of that. Like, I think there's been one or two guys in the last few drafts that have had that sort of talent. Yeah. Maybe Hall of Fame is a little rich, but you're looking at perennial Pro Bowler like Nick Bosa. Before that, Myles Garrett. Last year, Chase Young. He's right there as just a football player. He is amazing. When it comes to being a tight end, he can line up inline. He can line up as a Z receiver. He can line up as an X receiver. He can line up as a big slot. He's quick enough and fluid enough to run routes from anywhere. He's got a ginormous catch radius. He's fast enough to beat corners deep. He's strong enough to hold his own against linebackers. He's just an all-around stud. And even the blocking, okay, he's not going to be George Kittle inline, but he competes. He's not a bad blocker. He's actually a solid one. It's not like it's a weakness to his game. I think he's a legitimate tight end. There's definite substance to this. This guy's a superstar. And I do have a best fit in mind, but before I mention that, Blake, tell me, do you also think he's that generational perennial Pro Bowl talent?
Yeah, so I think I've come to more of a realization, but when you do look at Hall of Fame players, there's one thing that pretty much all of them have in common. Now, there is a few exceptions, but they are all the best of the best, like physically and athletically in regards to like, height, weight, measurements, like speed, things like that. Like, okay, maybe Frank Gore's not the fastest, but he's a very rare case. But like, you look at the best receivers or tight ends, they are all just like physically more dominant than pretty much everyone else on the field. Kyle Pitts is exactly that. And yeah, like when you watch him play, it just looks so smooth. Like whatever position he's at receiving, he's gonna look good. And I know pro days are pretty overrated, but like some of his measurables are like literally the exact same, if not better than Calvin Johnson's. And this dude's a tight end. Yeah, I think he'll be really, really good. Like you said, perennially a Pro Bowler. It's kind of like the bar for him, which is crazy because he's a tight end. And I'm interested to see how fast or how quickly he can develop, because tight end is like one of the few positions, I'd say that and quarterback and cornerback are positions that are really, there's a steep learning curve usually. And
yeah,
we haven't really seen a tight end prospect like taking this high. Now, TJ Hawkinson, went early. Eric Ebron went early. Things of
Vernon
that.
Davis.
Vernon Davis. But like he is, I think he's a little step ladder above these guys. Definitely.
Yeah, and those guys, Eric Ebron took time and never reached Eric Ebron.
Yeah.
Vernon Davis took Mike Singletary saying, can't coach with them, can't win with them. I want winners, for Vernon Davis to become Vernon Davis. And TJ Hawkinson, his rookie year really was solid, but now his second year, he's taken off. And so this guy is definitely really special. Jamal brought up Cincy as a good fit. I don't think he should make it to Cincy. To me, Atlanta is a perfect fit. And in regards to his talent, like I don't think it's a stretch to say he wouldn't walk into the NFL and be like a top 6 tight end. Like he's not going to be better than Kittle, Kelsey, Waller. TJ Hawkinson, but I think in terms of like Mark Andrews, Jonnu Smith, he's going to be close. He's really, really good, but
yeah,
let me not get away and go to the best fit. To me, it's Atlanta. Atlanta's already got Hayden Hurst, who's kind of a Swiss Army knife and a good all-around player. They got Calvin Ridley and Julio Jones. Arthur Smith likes to use heavy personnel sets anyway and build off of this run game. Matt Ryan, I still think, has something left. Take the best player in the draft. Kyle Pitts with Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley is scary. And Matt Ryan is still super accurate, still knows where to go with the ball, still super smart. I think that's the perfect fit for Kyle Pitts. And I also think in terms of value, after 3 quarterbacks, go and get the best player in this draft at number 4.
Interesting. Yeah. So the Falcons are kind of in a weird spot here. They're between all the teams that want a quarterback. So it's kind of like non-quarterback position. They get first pick of the draft in that sense. I think it's Miami. I really do. I think he's the best landing spot. The Falcons would be a really good one. Like, I'm not going to say it's not. I mean, pretty much anywhere with a need at tight end is a good one. But they already have a lot of good offensive weapons now. Julio's getting up there in age and may not be the best just because of injuries. And honestly, that's honestly why I think so. But he would feel nice there. But I think the Dolphins would be awesome because they're kind of missing that number one, like, superstar guy. Now, Devontae Parker is a really solid receiver, but he is not the athletic specimen that Kyle Pitts is. And Kyle Pitts could be the number one guy. On the Falcons, he would have to compete with touches with a lot of different dudes, receivers, sorry. But I think if he went to Miami, he would be the number one guy. Now, him getting passes from Tua versus Matt Ryan, if I was him, I'd rather get passes from Matt Ryan 10 out of 10 times, not a question about it. But Tua ain't no bum, at least not in my mind. So I think that is his best landing spot. Stays in Florida, no state income tax, pretty nice little deal there. But yeah, I think I think Miami would be the best because he can be the alpha, true number one guy.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to argue with Miami because it's a perfect spot, and I think he's what the doctor ordered for Tua. Yeah. I'm not the biggest guy on Tua. I've never been the biggest guy on Tua. I've always felt like the hype was a little bit overblown, but I still think he didn't have the worst rookie season ever. I mean, he didn't make any horrible mistakes. He didn't make any big-time plays, but he didn't make any horrible mistakes, and I think Miami can definitely win with them next year. So from that standpoint, I definitely think that Kyle Pitts would be a perfect fit because he's kind of what the doctor ordered. Like you said, they need a number one option and he'd be the guy. So I definitely like that a lot. Yeah,
definitely. And yeah, like I said, like I could see it going either way. Like I think he'll be good regardless of where he goes. It's more of just like, should he go here or should he go there? Basically.
We'll just answer this real quick.
Yeah, sure.
You want to go first? All right. So I have one more year of college after this. I'm completing my junior year, and I'm studying computer science, so that's me. How about you, Blake?
Yeah, so I still have 2 years actually. So I'm studying accounting, and I will be a senior, in the fall, but I'm going an extra year to get 150 credits and try to get the CPA. So 2 more years for me, and then out into the accounting world.
And our streaming schedule might change once he gets there.
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see where we are when that happens.
And yeah, thanks again, Tony. We know you've been here since you're one of the first here, so on the channel. So yeah, we always, thank you for coming into these streams and supporting us from Hawaii. I think is that you said that's where you're from. So
awesome. Yeah, and Tony, thank you so much. Again, just apologies that we couldn't answer that question. And just a warning for all you guys. I mean, Tony, I feel bad. He paid $5 to ask us a question about a player we didn't know. If it's a day 2 or day 3 type player, not one of those players who's getting constantly mocked into the first round, there's a good chance that we have not done the requisite research that we feel we need to do to talk about him. So from that standpoint, we're not just going to give you an off the cuff answer. So I would just recommend just ask the question in the chat, and if we see it, we'll just say we didn't watch it. Don't pay $5. I still feel bad for Tony. And thank you, Tony, for all your support. These questions are funny. I mean, possibly, but I mean, the odds of that happening are like 1 in 100. So like, it's like I'm pretty comfortable with trying to learn and figure out my computer science life than expect something that's nearly impossible.
Yeah, and I think also with that too is kind of like just the job security at ESPN. It's kind of fallen off from where it was. Like it dominated just the sports world, but there's a lot of other really, really good networks out there, and there's YouTube too. So like that's kind of, there's a lot more football and media takes, and and so it's tough. But yeah, no, that'd be cool. Definitely. I mean, it's ESPN.
Yeah.
So like that's, I mean, obviously the goal. That's the dream, right?
Right. And I mean, look at Grant. Grant's created his own like TV network here on YouTube that streams 49ers 24/7. So I mean, there are other ways to do it, but like I'm definitely comfortable. Like what Grant's achieved though is just phenomenal, and the opportunities he's given for a lot of people like me and Blake is we just really appreciate it. If there was one more question, one sec, that was just about a similar topic, real quick. Oh, I mean, yeah, that's the dream again, but it's like, I mean, I'd love at some point if I can improve my skills in terms of machine learning and all of that to get into some sort of data-driven department with one of these sports teams. But damn, that's mega competitive, and there's a lot I need to improve and learn before I get that. But that's a wild dream on the side.
Yeah, lots of good questions in here. I did want to put this up. So yeah, like you guys don't have to donate to us. We obviously appreciate it a ton, and that can't be stated enough. But we have been reinvesting a little bit. So big news, we're going to get the StreamYard, one of the premium versions, probably, I don't know how much it is, like $20 a month or something, with the money that we've been making from these streams. And it's just going to improve the quality basically. So, yeah, we are trying to reinvest. We did get a new intro. We, someone
spent $10 on it.
Yeah, we reinvested some of our money into there. So yeah, definitely thank you so much for the support.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, yeah, we're definitely just trying to use it honestly to try and make her content better. We know that we're well aware that our video quality isn't always the best, and we're well aware that we do have a lot to improve on, but I promise you that we are going to get better at it. And we appreciate all of you that have stuck with us in spite of the fact that those things aren't the best. So thank you. This is actually a hilarious question. I loved it.
Yeah, this one, thank you, Matt. Appreciate it. Hopefully they treat me well as they treated you. And then there was one other thing. This is more for Vish, but Who would
Yeah, I'm not answering this. Those are both great guys. Those are both great guys. I don't know what happens. I don't know what kind of rage those two guys got. They're two of the nicest, most down-to-earth, humble people I've met. I think that's a great question on the next time they do a show together. I think they do one every Thursday.
Next round table.
Yeah. And then Garrett, yeah, you're a CS major too, about to graduate. That's awesome, man. Yeah, it's quite the grind for a major. That's a lot of work. But yeah. There were a couple more. Yeah, Jamal is kind of funding us. Jamal is the man, but you'll also see Jamal. We've been in contact with him. He'll be coming on in a show with us. So
very soon.
All of you guys that love his comments in the comment section, because he knows a lot about sports and he definitely knows what he's talking about. We'll be able to talk with him on a live show soon. So that'll be really cool.
We could probably do like one more question.
I think there were a couple that we missed. I think that a couple of them are funny. There's one about you and the 49ers that I want to pull up just because we're a PG network. Blake&Vish Sports, we're for children.
Yeah, PG there was network. A question like, do I hate the Niners deep down? So
for the butt kicking. Let me say the butt kicking that Kaepernick gave you guys.
So those were some dark days watching that Niners defense just be absolutely insane. And I never liked Kaepernick. I really didn't think he was that great. Like I thought the media propped him up to be way better than he was. Because every time I watched him play, it was very rarely, besides the one game, I think it was game 1 of a season, like 2013 or something, Anquan Bolden had 200 receiving yards, but it was always zone read or Kaepernick, the pocket would break down and he would just get out and make a play. And that's how he beat us. And that was more frustrating than like if he was like picking us apart, like running a really good scheme and like doing it that way. Instead, it was like the gimmick zone read that still doesn't really work as efficiently as it was or as it did at that time. And no more Eric Walden for us. So those issues have gone away. But yeah, but the thing is the Niners weren't that great in the 2010s. They had 2 outliers. Not 2. They had a couple of really, really good seasons. They had a few really good seasons, but they did have some. I mean, they were really bad. Like they were.
Yeah, they were either the best of the best or the worst of the worst.
Yeah, so that's where I was like, all right, watching CJ Beathard get the work on Monday night, like that was pretty cool. And then this past season, watching the Richie James show, I guess that's the best way we could put it. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Blake was probably right on Kaepernick, and I could see as an outside fan when Ron Jaworski says that he has potential to be the greatest quarterback ever, and Blake just watched Colin Kaepernick run for 181 yards, and Eric Walden's pointing out to his linebackers coach, I went this way. No, Eric, that was your fault. Like, you messed that up, but I'm just kidding. But the point is, Colin Kaepernick was a special talent, and I think as a Niners fan, like now, like 8 years back, like that was when I was 11, 12 years old. Like, man, the Niners hadn't been good my entire life. I loved walking into middle school with my Michael Crabtree jersey and my Niners sweatshirt. You remember that Michael Crabtree jersey. But I'd walk in with there just because they were good for a little while. And Kaepernick did some special things. Like, he won 3 road playoff games. He won an NFC championship on the road after being down 17-0. Like, looking back, maybe he was a little
some good
overhyped.
moments. Get some good moments.
Yeah, he did some really special stuff.
In the brightest of lights, he actually performed pretty well. I will give him that. Like, he didn't shy away from the moment. That is one thing you can credit him for. But yeah, man, I don't know. I just wasn't the biggest fan.
Yeah, I mean, you gave us $5 for this. And you know what? That's because Prime Cam was an MVP level player. I don't think that's anything against Cap, because I think Cap, even how he played in the Super Bowl, that second half of the Super Bowl was pretty big time. It's just Cam was an animal, man. Cam was special. I still think.
You go on.
I still think Cam has something.
Interesting. I just wanted to point this out, but a team that had Ted Ginn as their number 1 receiver went 15-1.
It was no. Was that Ted Ginn?
It was Ted Ginn. Yes. I mean,
I thought it was Billy Brown, Jericho Cotchery, and Greg Olsen.
No, but they had those guys too. But Ted Ginn was like the leading receiver on that team.
Really?
So,
I think, wasn't it Olsen?
I mean, yeah, I guess you could say Olsen, but he was more of a tight end. I'm just saying, like, wide receiver wise.
Oh, the number one wide receiver on the team. Okay. Understand.
Was
Teddy
Teddy
Ginn.
Jr. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
That's all I'm gonna say. But yeah, it was tough seeing what happened to Mike Remmers.
2 times in a row in the Super Bowl.
If Mike Remmers is playing in the Super Bowl and starting at right tackle, you're getting the work. I'm sorry. That's just how it's been.
Yeah, I mean Patrick Mahomes knows it better than anybody.
Running for his life.
Right.
Oh,
there were a couple ones we can answer real quick.
One thing I wanted to put up. So big shout out to Abdul here. Big fan of the show. He has a YouTube channel, Shy Bear Blitz, and then he is also starting another. It's like more of a podcast. I think it's called Real Talk, but we'll definitely try to bring it up again. But yeah, definitely go follow him. Big Bears fans, and then they're gonna talk like other NFL stuff too. So definitely go give them a follow and watch and listen. I think it's mainly podcast, but listen to some of their content. It's gonna be good stuff.
They're going to be firing. Check it out.
Yeah, just want to put that out there.
Maybe we can take one more. You want to just do this real quick? I mean, I don't know how we met each other, but we've known each other since like elementary school.
Yeah, it was grade school. There was this again, Keith Murray.
Jeez.
People thought Cap was his equal, and as a Niner fan, I had to tell them he's not Cam.
Yeah, you're right.
Yes. You are totally right, Keith. Saying that Colin Kaepernick was ever close to prime Cam is blasphemous, I guess would be the best way of putting it.
What Cam Newton did, even in Auburn, I don't think gets enough credit. Cam Newton took a team that had, I think, only one significant NFL player on it other than Cam Newton, because Michael Dyer never made it to the NFL, and that was Nick Fairley. A starting receiving core that included Darvin Adams, I think, as his number 2 wide receiver, and won a national championship game in the SEC with Auburn.
Yeah, no, that was a hard carry. That was one of the hardest carries college has ever seen. But
single greatest college football season I've ever seen.
There is 2 guys, actually. Cameron Artis-Payne, former Panthers running back. He was in the NFL, so let's not downplay that roster here.
Right. I mean, what Cam Newton did was special, and I think people have kind of diminished Cam, but I think right now, prediction, I think Cam Newton is going to win comeback player of the year. I do. I don't think they had any weapons around Cam Newton last year. People made that excuse for Brady. They didn't make those excuses for Cam. They're gonna put that. They're gonna provide that for. They've provided weapons for Cam Newton this year. I still think he's got it. He had 12 rushing touchdowns last year. I don't know why. I've been watching a lot of Cam Newton actually. So this goes beyond just the few throws on Twitter that people see that bounce one, and then they say, "Oh, Cam can't throw." Blah blah blah. All of that, and I think Cam Newton. You better watch out for Cam Newton next year. I mean, we're talking about an MVP level player that's playing for $3 million next year with, I think, incentives that get him up to a decent salary. Or a guy who was a former MVP. He's not an MVP level player.
Yeah,
I meant former MVP. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, his arm is kind of a little shot. That's my only thing. But yeah, he's definitely not like the worst quarterback, but they'll be better this year with him. And, they won't have Damiere Byrd as their number 1 receiver.
So we touched on this earlier in the show.
Yeah, we'll have a video. Yeah. We'll have a video coming out. And I guess the other thing too, just real quick, like everyone is saying the Jets are taking Wilson, but it's not like completely set in stone. Like I think I guess it's kind of contradicting what I'm saying, but like a lot of the media thinks it will be Wilson, but it's not.
Schefter said it's Wilson. So
yeah.
You can kind of that when he says it more. Yeah, Mort says it, but I mean, maybe it's not Wilson. Who the hell knows? The one thing I'll say, I'll give you the gist of it, is that the smokescreen thing is just it's not a smokescreen. Okay, the Niners have not put out any information on Mac Jones. They have not put out any information on Justin Fields. They've not put out any information on Trey Lance. A smokescreen is where you're misleading other teams. I don't think the Niners are actively looking to mislead anybody. The media and people within the league are speculating based on how they know Kyle Shanahan that the pick could be Mac Jones. That's all this is. This is speculation that based on how you know Kyle Shanahan, this is Mac Jones. And for that reason, that's what people are looking at. This whole smokescreen thing, it's not a smokescreen. Don't worry about it. We're all going to find out the real pick on April 29th. But I don't think the Niners are looking to lead anybody astray. They're just doing their job. They're just doing it's looking at whichever quarterback they want. And people are speculating. When you make this big of a move, people are going to speculate. And people are speculating based on how they know Kyle Shanahan and what kind of quarterbacks he's liked from their conversations with him, that it's Mac Jones.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, not much more to say. Like, exactly what you were saying. I did want to put this up here. Thank you, Kevin, for the 5. Is 49ers drafting Jones the same as Bears falling in love with Trubisky? I'd say no. From all accounts here in the Chicagoland area, like, the Bears fans put a lot of faith in Trubisky. They all loved him in 2018. Now, 2017, there was some cautious optimism. I think the best way to put it would be they didn't have the best situation. He looked a lot better 2018, but now in 2019 and 2018, it was Bears. It was Trubisky this, Trubisky that. There's articles saying he's going to dethrone Rodgers. Never happened. Like, everyone in Chicago defended them with their lives. Like, they died on that hill. If the Niners drafted Jones, I think there would be significant backlash. Now, there would be people that like it, and then there'd be people that don't like it because they want Lance or Fields or insert 5 quarterbacks names. So I don't think it would be like that where, like, they defend Trubisky, like the Bears defended Trubisky religiously. I don't know if the Niners would do that. Niners fans would do that.
I thought, is this question about the fans or is this question about the actual teams? I don't think it is. I saw Colin Cowherd made that comparison today, but I think one thing that's not being taken into account, like, yeah, Trubisky wasn't a very good quarterback. He still isn't like a very good quarterback. I guess he's an okay one, like a guy that can start sometimes and be a backup. I don't know if he's an actual starter, but I think the big issue was Trubisky's situation also sucked. Like, which quarterback has really succeeded in Chicago? The weather is tough to throw the ball in. He didn't have great weapons his rookie year. He's never had great offensive line play. Nagy's not a great play caller. So from that standpoint, whatever you think of Mac Jones, one, I think Mac Jones is better than Mitchell Trubisky coming out of UNC. Although, just like with Mitchell Trubisky, the 1 year starting with Mac Jones is scary. I will say that I just think that Mac Jones is going to come into a situation where he has to be really bad not to succeed. Because worst case scenario, he puts up good numbers just because Kyle Shanahan can manufacture numbers.
Wait, do you mean to tell me that Nick Mullins isn't one of the top 10 best quarterbacks in his first 14 starts? Because those are what the numbers told me.
I mean, the numbers tell you he's top 3.
That was a great infographic.
I mean, yeah, Cam struggled versus the 49ers, but yeah, I think that was more than just Cam. Niners' game plan was pretty phenomenal, and the Patriots receivers are putrid, or at least they were putrid last year.
Mm-hmm.
Anything to add?
No, not really. I mean, we'll talk about Cam more because I think me and you kind of see eye to eye, and it's a little bit against what the media's perception, or what we perceive the media's perception to be.
Yeah, I think that the media has actually been unfairly hard on Cam. But
yeah,
guys, we've hit about an hour, 13 minutes. There's a lot of really, really good questions in here. We'll have to do another Q&A soon because we really appreciate all these questions, and I know that we need to get to them. Appreciate all of you sticking with us. Blake, do you have anything to say before we head out?
One thing, we're going to get Nolan back on here soon, Jamal. I know a lot of you guys miss him. Not just Jamal. We miss him too on the channel. So we'll either get some NBA or NFL, maybe a Q&A with him in here. We'll see. But yeah, thanks for coming out. All the donations, much appreciated as always. And I believe we're going to be streaming this weekend at least once on Saturday or Sunday.
I'll tweet it out.
Yeah. But yeah,
so yeah, stay tuned for
Thanks
that. And yeah, thank you. Please like, subscribe, all of that. Appreciate all of your support, and we'll see you next time.